So I was giving it some thought recently, and I've been feeling a little lost, almost as if I don't know what I've been doing with myself. Yeah, sure, I've been doing photo shoots here and there and still kind of doing what it is that I enjoy to do, but where am I headed with all of this? Where am I gonna go? And I think all of this started coming up because I fell into a routine, which routines are good. They're kind of to help stabilize you and make you feel like you have a sense of control about your life, right? But when I fell into this routine, I started noticing I started getting a little more depressed and started feeling like I didn't know what I was really working towards. So I thought of a way to combat that, and I thought of a way to to improve on it. And one of the things that I came up with was make a bucket list. So I did the very cliched thing that everybody does, and I made a bucket list. But the difference is, well, there is no difference. So I created this bucket list, and I just wanted to share it with you all and just kind of give a little bit of my personal insight of what are some things that I want to accomplish before I leave this world. And it was just a very quick, easy, just jot down 10 things that I want to do. And obviously, as time goes on, I'm going to be adding more to this list, as well as just kind of revising and editing the ones that I have on there. And this was just a moment of feeling motivated and just kind of thinking to myself, like, okay, like, here I am now at this point in life. How do I get to the next point? How is it that I can move on from here and to what else I want to become and what else I want to achieve? And so that's just kind of how this was birthed. But so I got my journal that I bought in Spain. I love this. I think it's really cool. But I got this, I sat down and I wrote down 10 little things of my bucket list that I want to do. And well, I guess let's get into it. One of the first ones that I wrote was a little bit cliched, but it's one that means a lot to me actually, and it is to live somewhere overseas. I don't really have much experience being outside of the US other than the few times that I've gone to Mexico, as well as when I went to Spain 2 times, and it was about for a month each time. But each time that I did go to Spain, I kind of had this like mind opening revelation, as most do whenever they get to visit somewhere else. But I remember each time that I had gone, I was severely depressed, and it was just a much needed break from my daily life while I was over there. And it made me realize that seeing this other culture, and especially seeing how different they are and the way they do things than what I'm accustomed to, even to the smallest of things. For example, yo sé cómo hablar en español, pero la manera que hablan allá es diferente que aquí. And so because of that, I took an interest in language. I was wanting to learn other languages, Japanese being the first one, and we'll actually get into that a little bit later. But overall, I didn't really document much of my time over there. I was just overall just trying to enjoy it first, kind of get the tourist feel, if that makes sense. I was only there for a month each time, which I don't think was enough time. So part of me wanting to live overseas is to get to experience, to live the culture and be a part of what it's like to live wherever I am at that point in time. And so for me, being able to live overseas it's a must. For me, being able to live overseas, it is a must, something that I have to do so that I can continue to open my views and values and continue to learn and experience and meet new people and just kind of see what it's like to be human. So moving on from there, I guess I'll reveal the next 2 that I wrote down, and they seem a little silly right now, but they're actually quite important to me. It is 2 and 3, to meet PewDiePie and to meet Matt Diabeta. So I don't idolize these people. It's more of what they brought and how much value that they've added to my life. And because of that, I think that I should in some way honor how much they've helped me. So I've been watching PewDiePie ever since I was in middle school, and I'm 22 years old now. So it's been a very long time that he's been a part of my life. I've seen him ever since he was playing Amnesia. Before that, I remember even his Minecraft video where he traps, I believe it's a zombie or something in a wall, and he thought it was the most hilarious thing. So I've been following and watching his stuff for the longest time. I've gotten to see him grow as a person. I've seen the mistakes that he's made, and I've seen how he's handled all of it. I've seen his relationship blossom, at least the little bits that we can see that they put on the internet. And so overall, he just kind of feels like an old friend. It's a very one-sided friendship, but it's one that I really do cherish, and I'm really glad that at least in that way he's gotten to be a part of my life. Recently on his subreddit, somebody recently made a post on there saying that they didn't really grow up with a father. They didn't have a father figure, and in a way, Felix was that for them. And when I saw that, I kind of came to a realization. I think that's how it is for many people. For me as well, seeing in his, especially in his most in his recent like book reviews or philosophy style videos, you can really see the lessons that he wants to show other people, and to the maturity that he wants other people to have, and just kind of seeing like the goodwill that he's always passed on ever since he's first started, and just how he's a kind, genuine human being has always been something very endearing, and which is why he's garnered the following that he has now. And so just combine everything together, I one day feel like as if I should meet him and just kind of thank him for the impact that he's had on my life. Moving on from the very sappy story, Matt Diabeta, the number 3, or I mean, there's no particular order to this list. It's all just whatever was on my mind and I wrote them down. So I'm just reading them in the order that I wrote them. But the number 3 on this list being to meet Matt Diabeta. So Matt Diabeta kickstarted my journey of self-help. You'll see many other YouTubers on here. So you'll see Improvement Pill, Captain Sinbad, Nathaniel Drew, and all these other self-help YouTubers. And they're all great. I really like them all. But I think the first one that I first started watching was Matt Diabeta. His high production value, the quality, everything that he advocated for just really resonated with me where I was in that point in life. I was very deep down depressed, and I just knew that I needed to do something to get out of that. I knew that I had to move on, and he's what helped me make the huge life decision of moving to a big city and pursuing what it is that I want out of life, and to continue to do what it is that I enjoy. I do remember in an earlier video I actually stated how I wanted to come out on his podcast, so I guess that's kind of like a little sub goal of that. My next one on my bucket list is to make a feature-length documentary. I love documentaries. Documentaries are little time capsules that you can put together, and they can last for as long as we'll be here on Earth. And I think there's something magical to that. I think something about being able to get a little view, a little window, a perspective on life of something that's happened, whether it be as minor as a morning that you've had before, to something major like a life crisis that's happened, or a national disaster. It all just kind of has a beauty to me, and I love that, which is why I've had my little hand at trying at it. I still think I have a lot of work that I need to do in order to progress and get better, but I have my foot in the doorway in that I've done my own little short, little tiny mini docs, and from there I just want to continue to make and make and make, eventually to where I get to the point where I make a full-length feature documentary on something. It could be anything. I don't know. I just think it'd be really nice to put something like that out there. After that, the next one that I have down listed, number 5, would be learn another language on a speaking level. As I said, when I traveled over to Spain, comboed with just my love for learning new things, I realized that I would love to learn new languages so that I can communicate with people. I think being able to communicate with others is there's such a beauty and such a glory to it. And so I think being able to learn other people's native tongues and being able to talk to them and experience their view on certain things is something amazing that not many people can get the chance to do. So if I can create some sort of world where I get to do that, I'm happy. So as I said before, I was learning Japanese. I was teaching myself, and I feel like I was pretty decent at it for someone that was being self-taught. And the hardest part for me was being able to use it. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I wasn't living in Japan. I wasn't where I was going to use it daily, and it had a practical function to it. And because of that, I ended up dropping it at some point and never really continued on with it, which I'm a little sad about, but it happens. I always have plenty of time in order to get back into it, and I think I will. I think I'm gonna combine that one with my number one of living overseas, and I want to live in Japan at some point. And hopefully I come out of that experience being fluent in Japanese. Other languages that I want to learn, there's Italian. I think Italian would be really cool. You might call me a little bit biased, but Swedish. Kind of want to see why or how they pronounce things. What is kind of like, why do they use unnecessary letters? I don't understand, and I want to understand, and that's the whole point. But yeah, continuing on to the next one on my list, I have get pretty good at skateboarding. I love skateboarding. I used to do it all the time back when I was in middle school. Started falling off around 8th grade, and once I hit freshman year of high school, I just completely pretty much stopped skating altogether. And when I moved here to Austin back in February, around March timeframe more so though, I got back into it. I bought a skateboard and I just started skating, and I try to do it whenever I can just because I really like it. It's a great form of exercise. I come out of it completely drenched in sweat, and I can feel the calories that I've burned. Not really, but overall, I love it. And the progression aspect is something that I think is amazing. It's a little bit difficult to explain in saying that it's an art form. It seems like nowadays anybody says insert activity is an art form. But I really think there is a method of expressing yourself in skateboarding that you can make tied uniquely to you that other people can't really do. And I've really learned this when I recently started skating with a friend that I just made. We've been skating with each other, and our methods of skating are completely different. The rates at which we get better at are different, and it's just really fun to see each other grow and get better. And so for now, I just think it's something that I would love to continue to do as a hobby. I've gotten to a point where like I can kick flip and heel flip consistently. I think I'm pretty decent overall, but I want to get to a point where I'm comfortable, to where like I enter a skate park and I can do my rounds on the different obstacles there and just kind of skate around comfortably and do things consistently. And that's kind of my overall goal with it. I don't really have any professional goals with it. I don't really want to make anything professional out of it. I just kind of want to do it because I love it. And it's up there with photography for me, except I want to do photography for a living. But I think if I were to do something with it though, it would probably be to sell skateboards with my photos on them. So this is what I'm skating right now. This is my board with my photo, my self-portrait. So I get to destroy my face. But yeah, this is really cool. If I were to be able to sell, if people were to be interested in buying my artwork on their skateboards, I think that would just be the height, the extent that I would want from that. And I think that would be honestly the coolest, just one of the most fulfilling things out of this that I would want. But yeah, and then on the other side I actually have orange grip tape with my logo on there, so that's really cool. I think just for now, being able to skate my own art is enough for me, so that'll be really cool to progress on into. But yeah, I keep that bullet kind of vague intentionally, just because I know it's something that I want to do, but there's no hard pressure on myself for that one as compared to the other bullets. So I guess from there to continue on to the next one. The next one on my list is actually a little bit easier to do. It is something that I can do probably on a weekend, but have been hesitant for the pandemic. But it is to do a photo shoot with my parents. So I've had many inspirations in life, many people that have kind of helped and guide me into being who I am today. And the two people that have influenced me the most are my mom and my stepdad. And so I would love to do a very Sean Tucker-esque type photo shoot with them. He did a shoot with his mentors and hung them up on his wall so that he can forever remember how they were there for him when he needed them. And I thought that was inspirational. I thought that was amazing. It really resonated with me. I almost kind of wanted to mimic it, but not just to copy it. I think it's because I myself want to immortalize my parents in some way. And so my way of doing that would be to do just that. So when things start to ease down and I can start traveling and, you know, not being so quarantined and stuck inside of my place all the time, I would want to go visit my parents, do a very easy just single light shoot with them, print them, and kind of hang the photos of them up on my wall and forever have them immortalized, just because I know that one day they're going to die and that's going to affect me. I don't have much experience with death, so I do know that when it comes time for them to pass and for me to have to overcome that, it's going to be very difficult for me. And so I think at least doing this photo shoot and having something to remember them by would mean a great deal to me, which is why it's on the list. But yeah, so that's been my list so far. Just, I guess, let me know what you guys think. Is this something you guys are interested in? What are your bucket list ideas? What are things that you guys want to do? Do you guys have anything similar to mine? I'm very interested to hear, just because I think that if I hear what, like, a really good idea that somebody else can do, and if I get to find a way to spread that word so that other people can be influenced and hopefully better themselves in some way from that, I think that's just the most ideal situation, right? So the next one would be to make a photography book. As a photographer, I don't print my work as much as I should be. I recently bought an 11x16 print of a photo that I did recently. I think that's the first time that I've ever professionally printed any of my work, and I want to continue to push that. I think printing your work is something that every photographer should be doing. And so being able to do that on a more grandeur scale, I'm saying it as if making a book is like this holier than thou thing, but no. What I mean is, I just want to have a book and something to remember my artwork by, something to establish and be like, yes, like, these are things that I've shot, this is what I put my work into. I just think it would be really cool to collect my work, put it into a book, and if people want to buy it, then they'll buy it. If they don't, it doesn't matter. I just want to make a book with my artwork in it. And I don't think I'm just gonna make one, obviously. I think I'm gonna be able to make more than one, and continually maybe release, like, depending on like projects that I go with. I've been wanting to make a zine for a very long time, and so I was actually thinking of making a quarantine zine, but we'll see about that. The next one that I have on here is have an online platform big enough to help people around the world. So while yes, anybody can have an online platform nowadays, technically what I have right now is an online platform. I want to have the following to be big enough to where I help others. If it gets to a point where my channel never grows, nobody ends up going to my Instagram and seeing the photos that I post there, that's okay. I do what I do because I enjoy it. But it would be nice to know that if I've impacted someone's life in some way. I think knowing that before I leave this world, I was able to help people, because that would be really fulfilling. And that's the whole point to personal perceptions, and why I created it, why the logo is what it is, and why it is that I do what I do. I think everybody has a perspective in the world, their own personal perception. Haha. And so I think everybody can learn something from each other. And so I've been wanting to advocate that through this medium for so long now, but I've had the unfortunate blessing of beginning all of this as soon as the pandemic hit, and I haven't been able to really meet others and kind of do what it is that I've been wanting to, but I've been doing my best. So I will continue to push, make videos, shoot photos of people, tell their stories out there, because I think there's much to learn out in this world from other people. And I think being closed-minded is honestly one of the most unfortunate things that you can do, because we live in such an opportunistic world. Why would you want to close yourself out to that, you know? So that's kind of the point in that one. I think that's one of the biggest ones that I would like to achieve that's on this list. But yeah. So my last one on this list is I want to live in New York for at least 1 year of my life. I want to be able to make it in the biggest city, you know, the one that is the hardest to make it, you know. Everybody always talks about making it in New York, how it's full of amazingly talented artists, and I just want to experience that. When I was in Delaware, I got to visit New York a number of times, and I got to see what it was like from a tourist perspective, what the city offered. And I think what it offers is beautiful. You walk around and the multitude of languages that you get to listen to just walking down the street, as well as seeing the way people live there. Everybody's kind of hurrying and they're kind of in a hustle because they're all working in order to be able to survive in this constantly thriving city. And it's just something that I think is a unique experience. I know a lot of people like to compare New York and LA to each other. I think that's a little bit unfair because I think they're two completely different cities that offer very, very different things. And that's why I think for me, a more personal fit would be to go to New York. So being able to experience the city firsthand and seeing what it's like has really inspired me in order to work towards being able to live there for a year. But I think I would want to do that once the US decides to clean itself up first. With the creation of this bucket list, I really feel like I've repurposed myself. I've regained something that I had lost before. I think that's great. I have something that I want to work towards, an overarching goal, essentially. So while you can have these little mini goals in between, these little accomplishments that you want to do, I think having an overarching goal, something that you're always constantly striving to work for, is great to have, and it really helps with mental health and having a purpose of some kind. So I think my overarching goal of learning from other people and showing their lives to other people is a good one, as well as going overseas in order to be able to continue that. So yeah, but overall, thanks for listening and hearing me out. That's been my bucket list. Let me know what your bucket list is like. But until then, overall, just thank you and have a good one. Alright, that was at 20 minutes. Wow, that's a lot longer than I thought. I didn't think I'd be talking for this much. Who knows, or who would have thought? I love to talk. And so I was actually thinking of making a quarantine zine, but we'll see about that. We'll zine about that. That was really bad. That was really bad, but I love terrible jokes like that. Anyway.